Hello and welcome to Sovereign RPG. We have Nina with us again today, and we're going to be talking about the market comparison report that's just been thrown up yesterday by Joseph. It has a comparison based on the average data of the 17 days prior to the release of the new insurance and the average data of the 17 days after insurance was released. So they did go on to say that they are paying close attention to the market, especially for items with higher fluctuations in price, due to the relatively large overlap in time between the launch of the insurance system and gaining access to T9. Both of these have had effect on the market, which is definitely the case. We can't argue with that. We will continue to monitor market data to see the overall impact of insurance specifically on the market. So that's basically what Joseph went through. Now, I'd like to throw a disclaimer out there. Anything we do say in this video is speculation on our front. Nothing is hard fact. Apart from the numbers we've thrown up, and I do know there's a load of you that believe that this is stat manipulation, they've only picked the stats they wanted us to see and blah blah blah, which could be the case. I could be talking shit myself. Who the fuck knows? But we're gonna have to go through basically what this is. We're gonna try to explain sort of what could affect the numbers that have been put up on this market comparison report. So we're going to try and go through that and make sure that you guys sort of understand what each of the things mean, why it could possibly have an effect on it, and then we'll go on from the future there. Now, I would just like to add, when I've been talking about the insurance, I've seen posts that have been sent to me over the past couple of days and comments that have been said, etc., that I have not agreed with the whole industry movement of them not liking the insurance system. I don't like the way the insurance system is right now. There is definitely things that need to be done. There's definitely tweaks that need to be made. There's things that can be made better. I've never said that this is the perfect fucking system. And I have never shit on anyone in comments or in Discord unless they've been a fucking idiot. That's the only time I will ever say you're an idiot. Your opinion is wrong, because I know that it is wrong. I will never tell you that your opinion's wrong unless I have actual proof that your opinion is wrong. So let's just get that little bit out of the way. That's my little bitchin' moan out of the way. So now we're just going to welcome in to the chat Nina. Hello, Nina.
Hello.
Welcome back to the channel. We had a lot of very good comments regarding you and how well you did in the video in the last one, and how they would like to see you more often on my videos. What do you reckon about that?
Part of me thinks it's a lie, but you can't really argue with people at the end of the day, can you?
No, not really. I mean, we try every day in the Echoes Discord, but all we get is bullshit back, but we'll see.
Yes, we shall see.
Right, so basically what I've got up on screen now is the market comparison, the before and after, and they are it's the same as what he said in the original thing where I read out a minute ago, the actual post, and that's at the top there, so I won't go through that again. The part one involves all of sort of market transactions. Now, we know that this does not include contracts. That is correct, right, Nina?
Yes, that's right.
So there are no contracts on this whatsoever. Contracts could really rise the amount of actual volume of transactions. So the reason why they didn't add contracts is said because it is pretty difficult to be able to sort of compile the data together. Now, there are people that didn't agree with that. There was someone in Discord that said, how is it hard, lol, because they must be some analytically minded professional statistics person.
Yeah, it could be just the way that they store the contract data on the back end. It might make it harder to search through than people might expect.
And that could be their fault. It could be and NetEase's fault. Who knows? It just they could have separate data and it might be difficult to compile. But Lancelot did say that some of the contracts contain more than one item. It's not easy to decouple each of the items. Some of the contracts are private. It's hard to evaluate the price of friendship, in air quotes, in it. Yeah, it's hard to evaluate the price of friendship. And I have to say, Lancelot was brave as hell to actually get in there and start answering people's questions when all everyone was doing was shitting on everything.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me as well. Brave soul indeed.
It's just whoa, just jump in. It's like a house on fire and there's 10 people standing there and one dude just goes, I'm going in, and just jumps into the house on fire like it was... I didn't know why he did it. I even advised him against jumping in there because people like to turn the words of others into something that they don't necessarily mean, especially when the person who's writing, his main language isn't English. So words could be misconstrued any which way that you could just see it anyway.
Yeah, it's always a risk.
So he did go on to say, so it's not impossible to use contract for estimating price. It's just not easy to do it. And because obviously everyone was demanding that the data be given right now, they obviously didn't have enough time to be able to compile everything in one go. But we will be getting more info every month on the market data. So we'll be able to sort of compare it as it goes along, which will be much better. And which is why we are only speculating on what we're seeing right now, because there is not enough data out there to prove either way of what people are thinking. So we're just going to sort of speculate on that. So they said that they will improve the estimated price from the market for now. So they're going to improve that. They're going to be updating that more frequently. And the purpose of the insurance economic report is not to convince you that the insurance has no problem. We just want to share what information we just collect and hope you know we are working to improve the system. Hands together, pray that you're actually listening to this post. Emoji thing.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. There are people like asking, why did they even do this? What does it serve? What purpose does it serve for NetEase to release this information? Well, technically nothing. It's just showing us that, you know, we are keeping track of stuff, and this is like some of the first data that we've compiled for it,
which is really good. Like it sort of allows us, even though like this original market report doesn't really tell us anything massively important, it does, however, give us a baseline for future market reports.
Oh yeah, totally. The next comparison that they release, if they release another one comparing this period to say the next 3 weeks, that will be the one where we can glean a lot more information, even if it is just basic like this, because then you can start to see trends. And you know, if everything still drops to 30% in the next 3 weeks, then you know, you can kind of easily say, oh, we have an issue.
Yeah, and then everyone can get back on Reddit and start saying the world is ending again. Because it seemed to have calmed down a little bit now. Like, there's not as many. There's still some, but there's like, it's not as bad as it once was. It seems to be calming down.
Yeah, this seems to be less vocal about it, but I'm sure a lot of people are still concerned, and rightfully so.
Yeah, 100%. They need to have some concern, because it is affecting some fundamental parts of the game. And I have never said that it's not affecting anything. I enjoy the insurance system because it benefits me while I'm playing the game, but it doesn't mean that it is benefiting everyone in the game. Like, I like the insurance system. It's a solid insurance system, but there is definitely things that are breaking other systems in the game.
Yeah, I can agree with that easily.
So there was also questions regarding, now we know that the customer service PvE automatic recovery is still live. A lot of people didn't know that it is still live. So that might be some of the reasons why we see such a low sort of percentage compared to what was there before, because most people believed that it was down. But they kept it up for the 2 weeks they were on vacation, just in case the insurance exploded and bugged and didn't work, and there was nothing they could do about it at that time. So they said that they didn't want to have zero ship recovery, so they left it on there a little bit longer. And now they've been back to work for 1 week, fixing several bugs, adding some optimizing features, and dealing with data and feedback for further optimizing features. So the auto ship recovery will be stopped in the near future. So if you want to exploit it now, because it's closing soon. No, I'm joking. Don't exploit anything. Like, I never advocate exploitation. I never do. But it's there.
Surprised a lot of people, because on customer support it said literally, like, when the insurance system comes out, the PvE fast recovery will stop. But then, because like you said, the timing of when insurance did come out was a big break afterwards, then I can see very easily why they just kind of kept it in.
I mean, they would have had to, if the insurance system did indeed explode and stop working, there would be much more upsetness than there is now, which is a big fucking difference.
It's hard to imagine.
Oh, God. I'd just like... you know what? The past 2 weeks, I felt like I was modding again in the Echoes Discord, trying to explain to people, because a lot of people still don't understand how the insurance system works. There's still a lot of bullshit out there. There's still a lot of people that are saying things that have already been confirmed as being wrong, but people are not being updated on that information. I have done like 5 or 6 videos now on the insurance. It's going from the beginning part. I have done videos on how, even though some people left comments saying that, oh, you don't even talking about the big issues. Who cares about the Plex sync when you're not talking about things coming out of thin air? Look at my first video on insurance where I sat there bitching for 30 minutes about the fact that they're bringing ships and modules out of thin air. And then you can comment on the video saying, you're not talking about the real stuff. Fucking, I just don't understand people, man.
Yeah, just because a phrase is skipped or not used doesn't mean it isn't referred to in the previous way or in a different way.
Yeah, because we did talk about there was something we did talk about, which was like, so when we brought up the fact that it takes 6 ships to recover 1. Those 5 ships in that video basically meant that they come out of thin air without us saying that, oh, they're just coming out of thin air, blah, 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 because that's not what the video was about. The video was about the expanded Plex sync that we didn't know about. It was an update on information that you guys should have been given in the first place, but because obviously the team is not an English speaking team, they find it very difficult to pass stuff over. Even though they've hired Joseph to be able to sort of like interact between us and them, there's still a lot of work that Joseph has to do by himself. So there's like, he's always got a lot of pressure on him, and we have to sort of give him a little bit of patience. But I do agree that we do need to have more information given at all times when it comes to updates.
Yeah, that's one person's job I wouldn't like to be doing at the moment.
Well, it's not like we both weren't offered that job at one point.
Think dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, can you imagine if one of us took that job and actually did that job? The reason why, so just for a little context on there, like there was the job offered to us for the community positions, but neither of us could take it because obviously I had my family here, I had my children here. They wouldn't be able to come with me because obviously me and my partner had broken up, so I couldn't move to China to do the job. The same with Nina. So Nina's partner's obviously the same thing. He's in the Netherlands, so they've got sort of like their thing going on. So Nina couldn't just pick up and move himself and his partner over to China, and I'm pretty sure that we would actually have dodged a massive rocket, not even a bullet. That would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, there was also my back then as well, my impending heart surgery, so I couldn't really, even if I was alone, I couldn't really jump ship, as it were.
Can you imagine going to China? Yeah, just I'll take the job, but you have to pay for all of my medical bills for my heart surgery. Thank you.
Didn't think that would have gone down too well.
That would have been absolutely fantastic. Right, so let's actually, before this video goes on another like 45 minutes like the last video, even though a lot of you guys did enjoy the video, and I've got a really big percentage of watch rate on that video, like it's in the 70s, so people did enjoy the video, even though there was a lot of comments of people bitching, but we do know the bitching. The reason why it's called a vocal minority is because they are the most vocal. Like, it's always been that way.
Yeah.
Right, so Nina, you have the market comparison in front of you, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, do you want to go over some of the major points on this market comparison where we can talk about what could be affecting these numbers?
I was going to say, the two most interesting statistics for me is the fact that the materials in the market, the number of transactions, have increased pretty significantly in the after insurance was released. But the manufacturing runs for ships dropped 10%.
But the number of runs, that could be like affected by the Tier 9, the fact that like battleships take a lot longer to build and stuff, and they're going to have, so there won't be as many runs as there would be when people were making the frigates and the destroyers and the cruisers and the battle cruisers.
Yeah, and also just in general, if you're building a Tech 9 ship, it does take longer than other tech ships, lower tech ships, even if it's the same class. Like, you build, say, a Venture or a Griffin or something, and it takes like, what, 20, 30 minutes tops? But if you're going into building Tier 9 frigates, well, there's no Tier 9 frigates, is there?
I don't know. I don't think
bombers.
so. Bombers, yeah, the Tier 2 bombers. Yeah, there is, yeah.
Tier 2 bombers, those exist.
Well, they shouldn't.
If you're going to build one of them, then it takes like 2-3 hours. So even though you're building a frigate, it takes like 5, 6, 7, 8 times longer. So you're actually getting 8 times less runs in.
As an average, yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be the reason why there is a number of runs deficiency. So the lower percentage of the number of runs, the modules and rigs could have a less amount of number of runs. That could be affected quite properly by the amount of people who are not doing PvE, or it could be the fact that like the rigs are coming back 100% of the time on the insurance. But I expected those number of runs to be down by a stupid amount.
Yeah, the fact that they only dropped by 3.9% is very interesting, because insurance obviously gives you all your rigs back. And I've actually noticed that the prices of some rigs are actually still increasing even after insurance.
Yeah, the rigs, the CCC rigs and the SMC rigs. The SMC rigs have dropped quite significantly, I have noticed, but the CCCs have gone up.
Yeah.
Another weird one that they had on there was the amount of runs for structure modules up by like 40%, 37.1%, but the structure components down by 15.5%.
Yeah, the interesting thing there is structure components down 15%, but the amount of structures have been built is increased by 3%.
So it's like I don't understand what happened in there. There's something wrong with that. Like there's something dodgy there, right?
Potentially, or people were using all the cheap resources before T9 Spike to build their capture outposts and stuff, and because of just the big time sink it takes to build components and build a structure,
it was built after. Yeah.
So all the structures were built after Tier 9 hit.
See,
after the insurance system started.
This is why we have you on the show. Because like I wouldn't have even thought of that, but that is a very, very good point. So let's move on to the minerals, and the average price being 17.3% lower, and the number of transactions 18.8% higher.
Yeah, see I think that's those two stats are the most curious thing about this data dump. You would expect with more transactions for the price to actually increase, because more demand, less supply, basic stuff. But another thing is, everyone knows when Tier 9 is going to hit, right? So everyone's going to be stockpiling resources, especially minerals and other stuff, to then sell when the price actually spikes when Tier 9 hits. Because these battleships take a lot of resources, the new Tier 9 ships take a lot more resources than their T8 counterparts. But because so many people stockpiled, when Tier 9 hit, the market was flooded with way more minerals than it could use on demand, than the demand increased for. So then that eventually led to people fire selling their minerals and just tanking the price.
And that could also be affected by the amount of people that say, like a lot of the alliances are saying most of their industry guys have quit playing or just moved on to something else or anything or other, and they could have just been panic selling to be able to respec into PvE, which could also put a shitload of minerals back onto the system, which lowers the average price, and it's going to be like make it a lot more number of transactions where people buy it, but the price is actually lower.
Yeah, because as well, the ore price dropped 9%, but the number of transactions went up 12%. The only difference is that PI materials, they actually increased as you would kind of expect on average, because there was 15% more transactions and the price rose 12%. The interesting thing about this is the fact that PI sort of bucked the trend, and the average price and number of transactions both went up, as you would probably expect from a spike of demand. But this is because I feel like PI is another specific skill in PvE. People don't do it. Most miners are spec'd into
reprocessing.
Yeah, that one. Miners are spec'd into reprocessing or building and other stuff, so they might not have a lot of skill points into PI, which means in general PI might not be as abundant as raw or minerals are on the market.
But there's still enough people that are actually selling it onto the market to be able to raise the average price and the number of transactions to be steadily rising, because they're both basically almost the same.
Yeah, because the PI wasn't able to soak the sudden spike in demand as easily as the other two materials were.
So, like, moving on to the actual, like, the blueprints, the ship blueprints, for example, the average price dropping by 8.3% and a number of transactions dropping by 2.9%. So, like, this can be easily, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's because most ship blueprints and that are sold via contract. There's a lot of people that won't be selling ship blueprints on the market because of the amount it costs to be able to do that.
Yeah, I know a lot of faction battleship blueprints, especially just skip market and just go straight to contracts, and even faction cruisers, which are a large amount of the actual ISK used to buy blueprints. And also, the average price dropping by 8.3% can also tie into the fact that both data cores and salvage materials, I'm not sure if that actually includes debris or not, but data cores dropped 5%, salvage materials dropped 8.7%. So it makes sense that ship blueprints will also drop in line with those two metrics for the actual price.
Yeah, especially since there's going to be a lot less people buying faction battleships now, which take a lot more materials to be able to make, and a lot more, like on the rig blueprints, it's a lot more needed to be able to make the faction blueprints themselves.
Yeah.
And that could also affect, like, what we said about the contracts could also be massively affecting the ships, including T9. And the ships not including T9, their percentages could also be changed by the fact that, like, a lot of these ships are going to be sold on contracts. A lot of them will be moved on contracts. People in corporations, when they're moving it together, they'll put the ISK into the corp wallet, so they skip the transaction fee and just send over the ship in a contract with no ISK on there at all.
Yeah, there's, like I say, there's several metrics that could be hiding precise figures, like all those contract stuff, etc.
Which is also another reason why we can only speculate on this market data comparison rather than actually say, right, this is set in stone, that's it, done.
Yeah, but that is the life of statistics, I guess.
Yeah, which is why I don't really enjoy statistics, because anyone can just turn around and say 95% of EVE players don't know how to fit an afterburner, and you could never prove that they don't. So it's like... It's like, yeah, I mean, you might be right, mate. I mean, it sounds stupid and it's an extreme comparison, but you can't prove them wrong. So if we talk about the custom support ship compensation, like dropping by almost 40% on the manual and automatic, that we've already talked about, could be the fact that most people think that it's closed now and not running anymore.
That could easily explain a large portion of that drop.
Because people can still, like, get their ships back for free without using the insurance system. So they can, like, not even have to use the insurance system currently.
Yeah, I even tested it yesterday and it worked within 2 hours, so it's still there.
Yeah, I tested it for another exploit that someone brought to me, trying to say that they could duplicate ships by using the insurance system and the automatic recovery system in a different way than what we talked about previously when we did that test before. It doesn't work. It's just someone talking shit again.
I mean,
Imagine
if it
that.
sounds too good to be true, then it probably is.
Well, this is EVE Echoes. It's not like we haven't had fucking not easy to believe exploits already being used. Like gate bumping gate guns 500 kilometers off of a gate.
That was just hilarious. Like, how would you even think about doing that?
Just like, yeah, I'm going to approach this gate. Oh, wait, what?
Wait, the gate gun moved?
Let me try that again. 200 kilometers. 200 kilometers. What the hell is going on? But they did fix that pretty quickly, so that didn't last that long. That was like not even 24 hours before that was fixed.
Yeah. One interesting thing could be drone blueprints to the actual drones.
That is weird.
Because 6% more drone blueprints sold, 6% higher average price. The amount of drones being produced is basically equal. The amount of transactions and average price of drones have dropped significantly. So that's a very interesting thing.
And the amount of drones being manufactured actually dropped as well.
Well, 0.1%.
I mean, 0.1% is 0.1%.
Yeah, but you could easily cover that with the fact that Tier 9 drones take more time to produce than Tier 7.
Yes. And there's a lot of people, the drone blueprints probably went up because people bought out the drone blueprints for the Dominixes.
Yeah.
And then obviously with the the average price of it being sold, people weren't buying the drone blueprints and just using them to sell on the market per se. They could have been buying up all those drone blueprints to build all the drone blueprints for their alliances and corporations, so that wouldn't even go onto the market.
Yeah, see, this is why stuff like this is too hard to actually... Because it's like, yeah, it doesn't have contracts, or it's not like saying, oh, you put like 50 of them into the corp hangar and then they just disappear out of the system, as it were.
True. So that's why we said that this is speculation and why there's multiple data points that are not available to us right now to be able to give a definitive answer on whether or not the insurance system is murdering the market. It doesn't seem like it is completely. It does seem that there is, I mean, there is some drops in things, but nothing massively staggering apart from the minerals. But then the minerals, just people quitting the game, or as they've said, they've been quitting the game, and so there could be less people putting it onto the market. But there are people making billions of ISK right now. The ones that are spending hours a day shipping between nullsec and Jita and selling those minerals for a massive amount.
Yeah, but it's like with everything, with every change, you have people who benefit from it, and you have people who don't, I guess.
And you have people that don't because they're lazy. No, they're not lazy. I mean, I can see why a lot of people were not happy with the system and why they don't feel they should do that sort of job in this sandbox anymore, because of the fact that the insurance system does seem like it's affecting them more than everyone else.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, I can easily see if people are like, oh yeah, you only need to produce one ship for every 5 lost now. I can easily see why people can be discouraged, and quite honestly, I don't blame them.
Which is fair enough. Like, you can't really argue with them. They are like, I mean, I do argue with them a lot, saying that they shouldn't just drop the game because of this one blip in the matrix. They need to sort of go with the times a little bit while they're figuring out what they're going to do with the insurance system. While they're deciding it, change up what you're doing a little bit. Go into nullsec and start shipping your stuff down to GI, sell it in GI, etc. You don't have to sell to your court members as much, so you have to like sort of move along with the times a little bit until they decide what is going to happen with the insurance system. We won't have to wait that long. You can still make your money and you can still do what you enjoy. It's just going to take a little bit extra work on your part. Not that it should, but if you'd like to continue playing the game and you'd like to continue being in industry, then there are things that you're going to have to sacrifice now until it is sorted.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of exactly the same when the NPC rats got rebalanced back in October. There were so many
rebalanced.
Well, technically that's what it was, but you saw so many people doing PvE and complaining like, oh, this is going to kill PvE, this is going to kill the game, and
we made billions, absolute billions.
We're sat here 4 months later and it's like, did it really? Like,
I mean, for me personally, for like someone who spent most of his time testing and making and doing PvE after the changes and before the changes, I make more money now than I did before the changes because a lot of people aren't doing it as much as they were before.
It's like if people, the first generation on the test server of the NPC war was absolutely ridiculous. So I'm glad that they changed it again.
Well, because that was there was no diminishing range returns. Like they were just fucking you from 200 kilometers and be like, hi.
Well, it's like in one, I was doing story tests in the Phantasm back then, but in the Galente one, I think it was just the T8 one, they webbed my Phantasm down to like 4 meters a second with the afterburner on. So it's like, hang on, might be a bit too powerful.
Yeah, just a little bit. There was a lot. They took the amount of E-War that was in the anomalies away, as well as the strength of the E-War.
Yeah, the strength is a big one, and the NPC E-War actually has diminishing returns now as well. But yeah, it's just like with all things in EVE Online, EVE Echoes, stuff changes. You kind of need to adapt a little bit. I can see why people get pissed off, because something like the insurance system is a big game changer, and it could be a big game changer with demand and supply, etc. But like,
we don't know yet.
But like Soph said, they are working on it. They're still taking feedback. They're still gathering data. There's a lot for them to go through before real change is made, I think.
Yeah, but it won't be long. They're not going to be able to hold off for too long. If numbers drop with the player base and stuff, they're going to notice, and they're going to know they're going to need to make a change. If they're not making a change, it's because the player base isn't as dropping as much as a lot of people believe it is.
Well, there could be many reasons for that. But again, it's a sandbox. If people leave, other people will pick up their slack.
And then they make their money.
Yeah, if like all the if like half of industry leaves, so half the supply's down and prices go back up, people will see that and it's like, oh, indie's actually worth doing. So then they'll go and change and do that.
Which is like one of the biggest points. If industry are leaving, and it sort of equalizes the fact that the 5-1, the 6-1, the demand has gone down. So the amount of industry needed has gone down, which is not good. Like, that's not a good thing. I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's definitely a bad thing. But like, it's sort of equaling out. But maybe that's what they had in mind. We don't know. Maybe they want to have industry less used in Echoes than it is in EVE Online. Otherwise, they would have all the modules being created and all of this other stuff that we don't create in Echoes compared to EVE Online. It might, I mean, that's just me speculating, obviously, completely. But they might just be trying to drive industry back a little bit to make this more of a PvP sort of game rather than the full sandbox experience. I mean, it's on mobile.
Yeah, I mean, I could obviously see the logic in that. You allow people to recover quicker.
And you don't have as many people leaving because they just lost all their shit.
Yeah, I mean, it never feels good if you've just brought like your first battle cruiser, fitted it up nicely, and you've got like 5 million ISK left, and then you take it into a high-level story mission or something, not expecting it to be as bad as it is, and then you've lost it. So what do you have left if your customer insurance is still on cooldown?
Nothing. You quit. Basically, you quit.
Really, ISK and a broken dream, so it's like.
But then people will say, like, don't fly what you can't afford. That is, but like, at the end of the day, that's an EVE Online saying. This is not an EVE General saying, an EVE Echoes saying. There are a lot of new players to the EVE universe in EVE Echoes compared to what's in EVE Online. And saying like the same thing as you would say in EVE Online is a big old difference. There's a different generation of players playing this game. There's younger players, older players that have never touched EVE Online. They don't know these things. They just see something, they buy it, and they use it. That's basically the general run of things. Like, the amount of EVE Online players playing this game is probably not nearly as high as the amount of people that are new.
Yeah, I would love to get like a survey or metric on that just to see.
I'd love to get player numbers. Devs, if you're listening to this, can you please give us the player numbers from launch to before insurance to after insurance? I want to see how many people have joined or left the game. I know that's not going to be a good metric for you to hand out, because it would see like, oh, if you are getting a drop in player base, which is normal for every single game on every single platform, people drop over time. The game's not what they expected. It's not what they wanted to do. They get bored. They move on, especially on the mobile market, where it's like the next best thing is jumping into a new game on the start, trying to get ahead. You lose a little bit, then you move on to the next new game, try to get ahead a little bit. And like, it's a mobile game mentality.
Yeah, it's very common for mobile games for people to do that, or just play 10-20 minutes at a time in a lunch break or something. And Echoes, despite their improvements, still you can't just like go to the toilet, boot it up, do a mission, because it takes 10, 15, 20 minutes. And sometimes people don't even want to do that. So yeah, they lose interest, just don't play it, move on to something that gives them, a 5-minute bit of fun.
And the instant gratification that they get out of it, which is another big metric in the mobile gaming industry. Which is actually, it's not even just mobile gaming, it's gaming in general now. The instant gratification is needed for the new generations of gamers. So it's like, it's just going that way. We have to move with the times, or we fall behind like everyone else.
Pretty much.
Right, so we're going to actually end the video on there. We do hope that you found some of this information useful. Sort of, I know it's not like, here's what the market comparison means, but because we cannot do that. No one can do that. Anyone who's doing that is lying. We sort of just tried to give you a basic understanding of some of the differences, why those differences might have changed, and we hope you found it useful and enjoyable. Remember to like and sub if you haven't already. This is your one-stop shop for EVE Echoes content, and we're going to say goodbye to Nina.
Goodbye.
Before we said ciao last time and then laughed at the end of the video. Okay, guys, fly safe and avoid local chat scams.